I'm down here in Carrolton, Kentucky. The deck system behind me, severely weathered 2x6 deck. We're talking thousands of cracks, frayed wood, splinters, on the verge of replacement. I'm Anthony Ford with Kong Armor, lifetime deck armor, the world's toughest deck armor. Let's take a look at it and see the transformation here. We just came in and encapsulated this. Look how beautiful, just down here from ground level. Just a few days ago, you're talking, it was bad. I mean, we're talking mildew growth, all that stuff on the outside of it, right? But the big thing was the frayed wood, and the 2x6 construction of this deck made it. Oh, look how gorgeous. Wow. Oh my goodness. Whew. Okay, let's go up. The 2x6 construction of this deck here, it made it to where 2x6s, they're a lot different. Decks that are built out of 2x6s, they take on tons and tons of expansion and contraction because their planks are so thick. When water gets down in their planks, it expands them out, right? And they're so much thicker than the regular deck boards that they go through so much more expansion and contraction. And what it does is it busts up cracks in them, and it busts up frayed wood in them, splintering and frayed wood and cracks, and all that is what ends up resulting from the people that choose to do 2x6 floors, right? The challenge is bringing a coating in that can actually rebuild their surfaces, because the thin residential deck paints and stains that the customer has access to just can't get it done. They can't lock down the frayed wood, they can't lock down the splinters, they can't fill in the cracks, right? And so everything that the deck owner does, whether they hire somebody or they do it themselves, it just seems second rate. It just seems as if it's just not going to work, right? It's not going to protect the deck. Insert Kong Armor, lifetime deck armor. It is thick enough to come in and be applied, and via our encapsulation process, which is different, where we actually manually drive the coating into the cracks, right? It can fill in all the cracks in these old weathered 2x6s. It can lock down the frayed wood. It can lock down the splinters, right? And so what we end up with is this really truly waterlocked deck that's high build, super tough, and ultra gorgeous, right? Now look, there were in this deck here, again, this is Carrolton, there were rotten boards. We came in, we washed everything up, and then we came in and we replaced all the rotten boards in here. There were a few of them. There weren't a lot, but there were a few, okay? We replaced all the cap rails in here. So this customer, they got washing, they got restoration included, restoration replacement included, general deck maintenance. We went around and tightened everything up, tightened the structure up everywhere, right? So all that was included, and then we brought in the Kong Armor, the lifetime deck armor system, the world's toughest deck armor, and we did the lockdown encapsulation, what we call lockdown encapsulation. The results from where it was to what it is now, just absolutely stunning, right? Now, I'll draw your attention, okay? Most of you guys, when you guys get deck refinishing, your post, right? Whoever does it, they don't fill in all the cracks and everything in your post. They leave them open, right? At Kong, what we do is we come in, and there were tons of cracks. I mean, there were so many cracks in this deck, it's unbelievable. But at Kong Armor, we come in and we use a special epoxy filler called silverback epoxy, and we inject it into all the large post cracks, all the large deck post checking, right? And we'll also use it for carpenter bee holes, knots, voids, imperfections, right? holes, right? Anything that we can fill with that epoxy, we'll fill it in. It cures up 3 to 5 times harder than concrete, and it has like this mean attitude where instead of trying to stretch and keep up, it just says, hey, I'm mean and I'm tough and I'm going to get down in this crack and I'm going to hold it closed. And we've found that to be the trick, right? With deck post cracks and filling in imperfections in decks, right? But everywhere on this deck, that silverback epoxy, we call the world's toughest deck post crack filler, deck repair epoxy. It's in every single large crack in the post, holes in the floors, carpenter bee, all that stuff, right? It's all filled in. Now, let's talk about UV block real quick. Kong, first in class. It's got thousands and thousands of these tiny little microscopic like mirror particles that are in its film. Okay, the sun will come down, it'll hit the deck, it'll deflect those rays back up where it belongs. Secondary to that, thick build. So unlike thin residential deck paints and stains, Kong, it's so thick that the rays cannot embed all the way through the film into the wood and obliterate adhesion, right? So it stops the peeling. It stops the peeling paint that's caused from UV rays. Now, what's the other problem that most homeowners have, right, with their deck and their coating system? Foot traffic, right? Well, unlike thin residential deck paints and stains, Kong is rated for foot traffic. We've actually designed it to be walked on. What else? Tough film technology. Tough film technology where the outside of the deck, and I'm going to show you how gorgeous it is, right? Look how beautiful. The outside of the deck, anywhere on the deck, it's rated to take on wind-driven rain, sleet, ice, hail, up to hurricane wind speeds. It's been tested at Category 3 hurricane wind speeds with hail, with 0 damage, right? That's super tough, right? Impact resistance, scuff resistance, all that stuff. Kong really is the world's toughest deck armor, right? Look how pretty. Look how pretty through there. Gorgeous. Really, really gorgeous now. Compared to where we were, right? Now, everybody tells me this is boring, and I shouldn't talk about it as much, but if you know anything about deck protection, you got to really appreciate this. How hard it was to fill in all the 2x6s on this deck, the cracks and the openings in them, and cover over every single one of the fastener entry holes. That's an extreme challenge for any coating and for any deck refinishing professional. Kong made it easy here. Super, super easy, right? There are no cracks. All the nail and screw holes are completely covered over and encapsulated. And we've got true water lock, what we call true water lock. It locks out the water, and what we know is if we can keep that water from entering those cracks, entering the nail and screw holes, we can arrest or slow down that rust cycle that affects your guys' deck screws and deck nails here in the Cincinnati tri-state area. What's that do? Well, it cuts down on the board rot that you guys have. It's a major advantage. It preserves your deck, right? That's why we do what we do, to preserve. So when you see these guys painting and staining decks and they leave all the nail holes open, they leave all the cracks open on it, just a waste of money, right? The water can still access it. The water can still destroy the deck. Here at Kong, say, that's not going to happen. We're closing off everything. Look. Everything's closed off to water. See? There's nowhere for water to get in there and get to the nails and get to the screws. That's true protection. That's what you need if you have a deck in the tri-state area, right? Now, I'll back up and show you guys the steps here. Look how beautiful. Look at that. Don't look at my feet. Look at that. Look how beautiful. I'll take you down here and show you what we did down here real quick. Just gorgeous, man. This is that island sand, and it's just stunning. Look at this high build film. Wow. Really, really beautiful, synthetic, almost composite-like appearance through here. My goodness. Wow. Just beautiful. Down here, I did something super special for the customer. We came in, and she's got this sunroom down here, right? It's over there. But I did all this for her. Okay. And instead of stopping here, where most guys would have stopped at, right? Because they don't want to deal with this sunroom, I went ahead and took it all the way around for her. So we cut in all this underneath the sunroom, all the posts underneath here, right? Look, all the way over there. Look how gorgeous. Look how beautiful that matches that sunroom. That island sand. If you got tan, if you got tan siding, tan stuff, it just matches it really, really beautiful. It's a super neutral, sort of like khaki color a little bit. That's just, it's on the money, right? And that's why it's in our 23 deck colors that we present to deck owners, right? But look, nobody appreciates it. Look at this. Every single crack in these posts. There's nothing open anywhere. Look. Before, big large cracks. The last guy that refinished it left these big large cracks in it everywhere. Everywhere. He just painted over the cracks and left the cracks. Look. There ain't no cracks in that anymore. Right? Nothing. You're talking about true protection for decks, which is what we do here. I'll show you guys the outside real quick. It's only take a second. Right here from my car. Let's look here. Look how beautiful that turned out. Man, from where this customer was to where they are now, just gorgeous. Lifetime deck armor. That's what we call it. We call it lifetime deck. You'll hear us say lifetime deck armor. World's toughest deck armor, right? All this stuff. Well, we're going to stay with this customer now for life. She'll have a lifetime limited warranty that's locally backed here in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, okay? And she'll also have a lifetime service promise. That gives her very affordable access to annual cleanings, little spot touch-ups for nicks, dings, any of that stuff that's not applicable under warranty. She has a lifetime service promise too. That's the problem. You guys, these guys that give you warranties and stuff on some of this stuff, but it doesn't cover the little tiny stuff, and then that stuff compounds, and then it's over, right? And they're out of the commitment. With Calm, you have a lifetime service promise to cover the little tiny stuff, right? We got you covered, right? Life of ownership. Never completely paint, stain, or refinish your deck again. That's the deal. That's what you want. Huge savings here. When we talk about the savings here, look at it in perspective. This deck wraps all the way around that house there. Now, facing tear down to frame replacement here, okay? That's where she was at. What we mean by that is taking all the deck boards off and coming in with composite, because that's what everybody's doing now, right? So when you look at the cost of that, you're talking 40 G's at least. So what I can tell you is this customer here, they saved so much money going with Kong that it's paid for itself several times over. And the savings that it's provided versus replacement day one. Imagine that. Imagine a service that protects your deck that's that valuable and that powerful. I don't know how much more I can sell it, right? If you're not convinced already, it is what it is. Look, in the description below, there's probably a link to our website. If you want to get lifetime deck armor, if you want to get the world's toughest deck armor, right? The only thing that you got to do is just go to calmarmor.com. Right at the top of the page, there's a little button that says get free quote. Forward from Carrolton, Kentucky. We'll see you guys later.